From ancient civilizations to modern horror stories, horned gods have undergone a dramatic transformation. Once revered as symbols of nature, fertility, and power, they were later demonized and cast as evil entities. What led to the fall of these divine figures? Today, we'll explore the fascinating history of horned gods, their significance in various mythologies, and uncover the reasons behind their demonization. This journey will take us through the sacred forests of the Celts, the wild mountains of Greece, the fertile rivers of Mesopotamia, and the shadowy corridors of medieval Europe, where the legacy of these deities was twisted into something far darker. Long before they were feared, horned gods were worshipped across the world. These deities were deeply connected to the natural world, embodying the raw, primal forces of life. Their horns symbolized strength, vitality, and a bridge between the earthly and the divine. Horns, as a symbol, have always held a powerful place in human imagination. They are associated with animals like stags, bulls, and goats, creatures that represent both life-giving fertility and untamed power. For ancient civilizations, horned gods were not just deities, they were manifestations of the natural world's mysteries and cycles. Let's take a closer look at some of the most significant horned gods from mythology and their roles in the cultures that revered them. One of the most well-known horned gods is Cernunnos, a deity from Celtic mythology. Often depicted with antlers, Cernunnos was the god of the forest, animals, and fertility. He symbolized the cycle of life, death, and rebirth, and was associated with the natural world's abundance. The Celts, who lived in close harmony with nature, saw Cernunnos as a protector and provider. His antlers, which shed and regrew each year, mirrored the cycles of the seasons and the eternal renewal of life. Cernunnos was a peaceful figure, often shown sitting cross-legged, surrounded by animals like stags, snakes, and bulls. His antlers represented his connection to the forest and the animal kingdom, making him a guardian of nature and a symbol of masculine energy. In Celtic rituals, Cernunnos was invoked for blessings of fertility, prosperity, and protection. His image was a reminder of humanity's dependence on the natural world and the sacredness of all living things. Pan, the Greek god of the wild. In Greek mythology, Pan was the god of the wild, shepherds, and flocks. Depicted with goat horns and legs, Pan embodied the untamed forces of nature. He was a playful and mischievous deity, often associated with music and fertility. Pan's name is thought to be the root of the word panic, as his sudden appearances could startle both humans and animals. Yet despite his unpredictable nature, Pan was also a beloved figure, celebrated for his connection to the joys of life and the freedom of the wilderness. Pan's horns symbolized his primal energy and connection to the animal world. He was both loved and feared, as his wild nature could bring both joy and chaos. Despite his playful demeanor, Pan's image would later be twisted into something far more sinister. The very qualities that made him a symbol of life and Fredoma's untamed energy and animalistic features would be used to paint him as a figure of fear and evil in later centuries. Enki, the Mesopotamian god of wisdom and creation. In Mesopotamian mythology, Enki was the god of water, wisdom, and creation. Often depicted with horns, Enki was a benevolent deity who brought knowledge and civilization to humanity. His horns were a mark of divinity, symbolizing his power and connection to the sacred. Enki was credited with creating the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, which brought life to the arid Mesopotamian landscape. He was also a patron of artisans, healers, and magicians, embodying the creative and intellectual aspects of divinity. Enki's role as a creator and protector made him one of the most important gods in the Mesopotamian pantheon.
I am your god. Worship me.
His horns were not just a symbol of strength, but also of his ability to bridge the gap between the divine and the mortal world. Enki's legacy as a bringer of knowledge and civilization stands in stark contrast to the demonized image that horned gods would later acquire. Horned gods across cultures, a universal symbol. Horned gods were not limited to Celtic, Greek, or Mesopotamian mythologies. In ancient Egypt, Amun, the king of the gods, was sometimes depicted with ram horns symbolizing his power and fertility.
I am your savior, and the bringer of fertility.
Amun was a god of creation and the unseen, often associated with the life-giving Nile River. His horns represented his role as a sustainer of life and a protector of the natural order. In Hinduism, Pashupati,
I am the lord and protector of animals.
an incarnation of Shiva, is shown with antlers, representing his role as the lord of animals. Pashupati is a protector of all living creatures, embodying the interconnectedness of life. Even in Norse mythology, Freyr, the god of fertility and prosperity, was associated with horns, particularly in his role as a bringer of abundance. These deities, though from different cultures, shared a common theme. Their horns symbolized their connection to nature, fertility, and the divine. The rise of monotheism and the demonization of horned gods. Despite their revered status, horned gods faced a dramatic fall from grace with the rise of monotheistic religions, particularly Christianity. As Christianity spread across Europe, it sought to replace pagan beliefs and practices. Horned gods, deeply rooted in polytheistic traditions, became prime targets for demonization. Christianity often portrayed pagan deities as false gods or demons to discourage their worship. Horned gods, with their wild and untamed imagery, were easily cast as symbols of chaos and rebellion against the orderly, monotheistic God. This was not just a theological shift, but also a political one, as the church aimed to consolidate power by eradicating competing belief systems. The horns that once symbolized divinity and life were now twisted into markers of evil and corruption. The witch hunts and the devil's horned image. By the Middle Ages, the demonization of horned gods reached its peak. The figure of the devil, as described in Christian theology, began to take on the physical attributes of these ancient deities.
I am Lucifer, all-powerful. Bow to me, mortal.
Horns, once a symbol of divinity, became a mark of evil. During the witch hunts, accused witches were often forced to confess to worshiping a horned devil, further cementing the association between horns and evil. The imagery of Pan and Cernunnos was co-opted to create the modern depiction of Satana horned, goat-like figure representing temptation and sin. This was not just a religious campaign, but also a way to control societal norms. By demonizing pagan symbols, the church could suppress dissent and enforce conformity. The horned gods, once celebrated as life-givers, were now feared as harbingers of chaos and destruction. Cultural and psychological factors behind the demonization. Beyond religion, there were cultural and psychological factors at play. Horns have long been associated with animals, particularly those that are powerful or dangerous, like bulls and goats. This primal imagery evoked both awe and fear, making it easy to twist into something sinister. Additionally, the horned gods' connection to nature and primal instincts clashed with the growing emphasis on civilization and morality. Their untamed energy was seen as a threat to the ordered, civilized world, leading to their portrayal as chaotic and evil forces. The psychological impact of horns as symbols of power and danger cannot be underestimated. In many cultures, horns are seen as both protective and threatening, embodying the duality of nature itself. This duality made horned gods particularly vulnerable to reinterpretation as figures of fear. The legacy of horned gods today. Despite centuries of demonization, the legacy of horned gods lives on. In modern paganism and Wicca, figures like Cernunnos and Pan are once again revered as symbols of nature and spirituality. In pop culture, Horned deities and demons continue to captivate our imagination, appearing in movies, books, and video games. The story of horned gods is a testament to how symbols can be reshaped by cultural and religious forces. What was once sacred became sinister, only to be reclaimed by those who see the deeper meaning behind the horns. Today, these deities serve as reminders of humanity's connection to nature and the enduring power of myth. Conclusion: the truth behind the horns. So, the next time you see a horned figure in a movie, a painting, or even a modern fantasy story, take a moment to remember the rich and complex history behind it. These figures, often depicted as monsters or villains today, were once revered as powerful divine beings, guardians of nature, symbols of fertility, and embodiments of the untamed forces of the world. From Cernunnos, the Celtic lord of the forest, to Pan, the Greek god of the wild, and even Enki, the Mesopotamian god of wisdom and water, horned deities were central to the spiritual and cultural lives of ancient civilizations. Their transformation from sacred figures to symbols of evil is a testament to how history and mythology are shaped by those who tell the stories. As cultures clashed and new religions rose, the old gods were often demonized, their horn sense a mark of divinity recast as a sign of malevolence. But the truth is far more nuanced. These deities represent humanity's deep connection to nature, the cycles of life and death, and the mysteries of the cosmos. Their stories remind us that history is rarely black and white. It's a tapestry of perspectives, where the lines between good and evil, sacred and profane, are often blurred. By exploring these ancient myths, we not only uncover the roots of our modern stories, but also gain a deeper understanding of how our ancestors saw the world and how those views still influence us today. If you enjoyed this deep dive into mythology and the fascinating history of horned deities, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more fascinating stories from history, folklore, and beyond. Let me know in the comments which horned god or mythological figure you find most intriguing. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Until then, keep exploring the mysteries of the past, and remember, the truth is often hidden in the details.